Hey everyone, this is Zach again. I have a kind of a strange game today. It's like a game review like slash lecture. As you can see, it's kind of weird because it's on a 27 by 27 board. It's just a game I played against some dude I don't know online, just for fun. But there's a couple things I noticed in it that I think would be really helpful to you guys' games. The first one is invading too early, and the second is global thinking. So I'll show you guys that. So this is a game. He picked dual 5/5 points. I think is just because he was trying to create a bigger influence on this board. But in all reality, it didn't even really matter. I mean, there's still even for me, there's still the 3/3 invasion, and for him, I can just take away a lot more of his territory this way. Okay, so he just did this. So already we can see what he's after. He's after that influence on the left side. So he makes this move. Let's just say it went like this, and I took Sente like this. So now it's my turn. So right here, I have a lot of options I could do. I could go ahead and play somewhere, just random over here or over here, take a big point. Or even this group kind of up here is kind of floating in the center, so I could try something to put a little more pressure on it to make sure it can't get a base. By the way, he played this Josuke incorrectly. Anyways, then there's many things I could do. What I picked was just a big point. Now, like I said before, was he looked like he was creating a lot of influence on the left side. So a lot of things that higher Q players do is they see all this influence that White's getting and they freak out and they're like, oh, I have to invade it. Which generally isn't the right idea. Because let's just say that I go ahead and play a big point. Then he goes ahead and tries to make his influence stronger. Well, especially since the board is so big, there's so many ways I can still invade. I can do things like this and try to make a base for myself, especially if there's stones around. So even with that extra move at C14, that area is still secured. So let's say I take another big point and he's insistent on taking the territory. I just take another one, he insists on taking the territory. As you can see, okay, so now it's looking more like maybe it's closer to this all becoming territory. But again, right here I still have Sente. And his stones, the only place he's trying to make territory is only on the left side. I'm making territory in every corner and in almost every side except for this one, which I could play at right now. So when your stones are all at one side of the board and your opponents are everywhere, that's generally a sign that you're not really doing the right thing. It's called over-concentrated. Because even though you're securing territory, especially in this case, there's still ways I can try to reduce it, maybe with moves like this later on to push you down. So spending moves like this for white is really just helping black out. So likewise, if black tries to get into this too early and decides to invade right here, especially since white can't even secure it with one move, there's no reason to do this. So invading too early like this into an area that can still be invaded, there's no reason for it. So always think when you're invading, if my opponent protects that spot, will I still be able to invade? If he protects that spot, is it worth that much? Is there a bigger point on the board? All these type of things. And also, generally, invading too early on the game isn't a good idea, generally. So, let me see here. So, I went ahead and took the big point. Now he's just finishing up the Josuke because he didn't before. This isn't Josuke, you shouldn't have played that move. Another big point, tries to surround me. Another big point, and I probably should have extended at U3 earlier. And for some reason, I don't know why I didn't see X3. That's kind of worth a lot locally, but again, I still have Sente. So I don't know why I didn't see X3. My mind was like blank or something. Anyway, so at this point, I chose to invade. I'm not completely sure if this was right, but I saw that I had taken all the big points on the board pretty much. I had taken all of the corner spots, I'd taken all the side spots. I've made all of my groups safe. Though I felt this was a pretty good time to do this. Maybe it wasn't, I'm not sure. But anyways, so right here. So this move is really to create influence towards the center. But in reality, white doesn't have that much influence to back up this move at E11. He doesn't have any stones. Let me get a tool out. He doesn't have any stones around here to back up this stone at E11. So there's really no reason for him to make this move right now, because for one thing, it's not pressuring my stones at C14. Those stones can still do a double jump, or they can cut under at B16, so they're fine. And it's not really creating any framework or moyo. Sure, there's some stones over at like V4, but they're not working very well with this like wall white is trying to make. So I went ahead, oops, Sente again, and then again this was overplay because this is just going for influence, and I think he thought he was putting pressure on my group, but he really wasn't. I still had this move, and I had this move to make life. So he was just overplaying with this move. Always have to think if your move actually is pressuring your opponent, if you're actually getting Sente by that move. So then he goes to Sansan, which is good. When you have stones, well, usually it's when you have a stone on the star point, like at U24, and then you have a stone at the two other star points, so like at O24 and Y14, of course usually not that far away from each other. But then usually it's good for white to go to Sansan. So this was good as white because I had a lot of stones around here. By going to Sansan, you get Sente, and you reduce black's territory. Because trying to reduce another way, especially when your opponent has a lot of stones around that area, isn't usually a good idea. Sansan is a good way to reduce, basically. Okay. Also, actually, I should go over this also, because this is something actually I used to do. I used to make this move a lot, which is actually fine. But I think white will lots of times do, and this is even listed in Koto's Josuke Dictionary, which I find interesting. But white shouldn't play this move. Or, I'm sorry, let me the move tool pass. White shouldn't play this move, because if he does, and it goes like this, now white is completely sealed in. Like in the Josuke before, let's see if I can get it, white still has an extension at V26. He can still kind of get out. Of course my stone at T25, at 24 kind of gets rid of that, but anyways, usually white has a way to get out. He's not completely closed in the corner. This way, he's completely closed in the corner, and he has even fewer points than he did before. And if black makes, let's say white does something, black did something, this is Sente for black, because if white plays elsewhere, then black can do this, 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 and then as you can see, if white does this, obviously, then he's dead. So the only thing white can do is this. To capture, and white has to play the ko. So of course this is really heavy for white. If he loses this corner, it's really big for white. So along with being surrounded, black also has this move in Sente. So white playing this move is not good. So the two options white have are this move, if he has ladder, or this move. So if he has ladder, which in this case he doesn't because of T24, or at least I think, let me look. So the normal variation is for, just a second, sorry. Black to just extend Atari, extend again, white goes down, black goes here. Then, excuse me, white cuts, and cuts again. Then he goes up again, and then ladders. Obviously because of the stone at T24, this time it doesn't work, because that stone right there is going to get Atari. But if white does have the ladder, he can play this way. And now his stones at y25 are safe. Of course, black can still connect under like this later on. Or, yeah, sorry. Because obviously white can't play down or he gets captured. So he has to connect like this. And then black connects under. So of course this is still fine for white because white gets out. He gets some points. Of course it's not kind of nice with this stone at t24. But of course the ladder doesn't work in this case anyways. So white can't play this way. So the way white can play is by making this move. Now black should not make this move because if white connects, black obviously has to connect. If he tries to, say, Atari, then it would go like this, and if he wanted to get out, those two stones are dead. And white has this incente, so he can play this first to protect his corner, and then he can take this. So now white, this is really bad for black because white's on the outside and he got a corner. So black can't block right here. If you find yourself tricked like that, disconnect, because that's better. White gets out, sure, but at least your group is solid now. So this way, black should just cut in like this, and then white captures. This is a normal variation, or white in this case should probably undercut him like this. But this way, it's okay for both sides. Of course, it's a little bit better for black because black is a little more solid and he got the corner, although white still got out and stuff. So it's a semi-equal result, you could say. Anyway, so yeah. Oops. White shouldn't play Z26. Anyways, so let's go back to the game. Skipped a few moves. Oops. Okay, so I played this and finished up the Josuke. Then he overplayed again because this is a Josuke. And you have to be careful with nice moves, especially this one because it's really not creating a moyo anywhere, especially with my stone at 023. When you're trying to create a moyo, you never want your opponent's stones inside of that moyo. He just played lower than that stone, which means he's trying to make a moyo where he can't make a moyo because my stone is in there. So I think he was trying to put pressure on my top left group, but it's obvious that it's alive, so I'm not sure why he did that. But also you have to be careful with knight's moves because they can be cut later on. Anyways, so I take territory, maybe not the best move, I don't know. So connects. Okay. Good. That move, that seemed kind of slow. I think he was trying to defend a possible cut right here. But I think white could have just made this move. Yeah, white could have just made this move. Of course, black has this. But I'm still, if he wants to cut me, the only place he can cut me is right here, but these two stones aren't going to live. So it's generally not good to defend directly. Try to make some type of good shape. I think this is a little bit slow. Anyways. Okay. So at this point you can see that I have a lot of territory. I have the bottom right, I have the bottom left, I have the left side, I have the top left, and I have this big moyo in the middle right now. So white obviously wants to reduce it. Now when trying to get rid of your opponent's moyo in the center, it's generally best not to try to just put a stone in there. It's generally best to try to expand your own moyo while getting rid of your opponent's. So for instance, white could have done this technique, which is pretty common. Then goes like this, this, and then so this way white expands his moyo on the top, and then he can turn and start trying to reduce mine. So this way he's expanding his own moyo while he's trying to get into mine. So let's say it went something like this. I think I haven't read all the cuts out or anything, but now white's getting some territory in the middle, but there's still ways to invade. For instance, at this point, white could try something like this, because most likely the stone isn't going to die, especially since he's pretty solid in the center now. Black still has ways to get in, but white still has ways to get into his territory. So if black wanted to defend, then you could turn around here and try to get into his territory again. And then from here, black either might try to attack this stone and try to gain something. Anyways, this way white's gaining some territory while reducing black's realm of influence. So this is generally a good way when you're trying to reduce your opponent's center, is to try to expand your own moyo while you're doing so. So go back. Observation. In the game, he played this. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen some type of move like this, where you have a big moyo somewhere and your opponent just plops a stone down in the middle. So this move is almost never a good idea, and it's not because it might not live. That's not the only reason why it might not be good, and I'll show you why in just a second. So I capped it, which is a common way to try to surround your opponent. Cap is just attacking it from a one-space extension. And white did this because he obviously saw if he tried anything else, there was no way he could get out. Then I could do this to try to get him in, or I could just do a one-space. Anyways, there was no way he was going to survive unless he somehow locally made two eyes, which was very unlikely. So, also, if he made this nice move, I could just cut him. So he just tried to use that stone to try to reduce my moyo, which is a good idea, because he saw it was hopeless. So it's fine. It's a good idea also to try to peep at your opponent to try to destroy his shape and eye space. So, okay. So let's look right here. So right now I have a couple different options to try to surround and possibly kill this group. One is to try to make some type of move out here and try to surround him, keeping him from getting out to the center, maybe push him towards my stones. But, and then there's another way, and I could do something like this and try to surround him. Of course, then you can see there's just lots of ways for him to get out to the center. So, places like this are a lot of times difficult for people to, especially Q players, to understand where, which direction you should try to surround your opponent at. So let's say I did this. So white would most likely, well, maybe he could do something like this first and possibly make two eyes. I would probably let him have it. And then, well, he wouldn't actually have to play this way. This probably isn't the best move. If he just jumped out, let's say. Then if I did do this, and then he kept on jumping out, and, well, obviously for one thing, I'm not going to surround him. Second of all, the moyo that I had on the top side is kind of diminishing. It's not as big as it was. So white both got into my territory, and now he's reducing it while he's running away, which usually isn't a good idea. When your opponent's running away, you generally want to gain something, not be losing something. So, surrounding from this side, it's pretty obvious that he's probably not going to die because there's so much Aji, so many ways that white can escape. There may be some way to kill him, but I don't know how. So what I picked in the game was this move. The reason I picked this was because I saw the Moyo I had on the top side. And I saw that I most likely wasn't going to be able to kill this group. And this is what I was talking about globally thinking. Because it's very common to, when your opponent plops a stone down in the middle, like he did, sorry. Let's see if I can find it. Right here. It's very common, even for me, to think, okay, I have to kill the stone. If I don't kill it, all that territory in there is going to go away. But in all reality, when you see a huge Moyo like this, you shouldn't envision that all of this is going to become your territory, because that's not realistic. Because there's so many holes and gaps in your territory, and it's so open, you can't. It's unreasonable to think that all this is your territory. So, yeah, it's really common to try to think to kill this move, but in reality, you really shouldn't think that way. You should think, how can I gain by attacking this stone? So, if you see how this plays out, I killed this stone right here, but he still got to reduce my territory slightly with this group at T17. So, once I saw I couldn't kill it, I just decided to try to pressure it, because if white didn't respond right here, he might actually die. If I made something like this, there's still a lot of Anji, of course, but I may be able to kill him if I surround him completely. So it's kind of mandatory for white to respond right here. So in the game, if you just see what happened, I continued. I didn't try to save my stone. So if I try to save my stone now, just say it goes like this. Now you can see my Moyo is being reduced again while white is running away. And my group right there isn't even completely safe. So what I did was I let him have that stone. So while he's making these slow moves to try to live, I'm creating a Moyo on the top side. So while you're attacking a group, you always have to think globally. You can't just think about locally killing the group or locally somehow doing something maybe besides killing it. I don't know what else there would be. But always think about what other influence you can be going for, what other territory you can be gaining, not just killing, but by attacking it. So right here, this was a ladder breaker, by the way. In case you're wondering. And then I start expanding my Moyo again, because it's obvious this group isn't going to die. He can go out to the bottom towards his stones, and so and he already has one eye. He can make well, actually no, he can't make another Ngote, but he already has a one eye and he has a way to escape. So I didn't try to kill it. Okay, so he tries to weaken my group and he tries to cut here. And when you're trying to make an influence, when you're trying to make a Moyo, you have to be strong. Because if your stones aren't strong, then there's going to be way too much Aji and your opponent's going to be able to reduce you very easily. So it's important to make solid moves like this one at 015. Well, in this case it was kind of completely needed, because if I made something like this, then he'd be able to capture this group. But in most cases, it's just good not to leave cutting points. It's good to make yourself completely solid. Because something I've learned in a lot of my games is if you don't make yourself solid in Moyo games, then there's going to be too much Aji, and your opponent's going to be able to reduce you very easily. So he tried something here that didn't work. And you always want to make sure moves like this work. Otherwise, you're just giving Sentai to your opponent. Which in this case, it didn't. Okay. This Ko like doesn't even work for him because I can just play X18. He has a shortage of liberties. Okay. So I'm not sure if there's much more I wanted to talk about this game. It was really just the expanding the Moyo thing and the invasion on the left side. So basically, it's a summarization. When you're invading, don't invade too early. If there's a possibility that you can invade later, then there's no reason to invade right then. And also think, if your opponent does defend that spot, is it really worth that much? Is there a bigger spot on the board? Is there a way to reduce it even if he does secure territory? And also with Moyo, always make yourself strong when you're trying to make a Moyo. When you're attacking a group, don't just think about killing it. Think about what you can be gaining globally. And that's basically it for this one. I'm not completely sure what I'll do for my next lecture. I'll probably do something on Fuseki or maybe something else that comes to mind while I'm playing a game. But thank you guys for watching again, and I'll see you guys later.